Hi everyone!
Hello guys!
Welcome back to Blonde Vibrations. Today we're tuning in with Siobhán Winifred. Like doing the intro never gets any less weird. Like every time I'm like, I'm not going to break the character, and every time I do it and I'm like, I need to address the fact that this feels really weird because we've just been talking for like half an hour.
Yeah, there's no way we can pretend like we did just come in and sit. Like we've just done a mini podcast like to the side and we just had to come and sit down and continue it.
But you know, I listen to podcasts and I'm like, that's really annoying. Like, you know, like sometimes you tune in, they're like, oh, like how are you? And they're like, yeah, I'm good. We just had a good chat. And I'm like,
that thing we spoke about earlier.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm like,
why wasn't I there?
But I can't help but do it. Like however many years we've been doing this now, and I still find myself being like, this is really weird because we were just talking. Now there's a camera on us. And I don't think it will ever get any less weird.
It happens.
And we actually were saying, sorry to be that person, but about how much of a long time coming this is. Because we were thinking when we were planning, we were like, God, it just feels like forever that we've been mutuals. Like, I actually don't remember when it happened.
Definitely.
But it just did. Like,
no, I know.
It was like we just spawned and just, yeah, like that's that now.
You've got such like a distinctive little icon on Instagram as well. So it's like, I've seen it for such a long time.
And I'm
like,
always on it as well. Like, I'm like so, I don't know if this is like too much, but I like always get in the habit of like just viewing everyone's stories on Blonde Vibrations. Like I could follow you on my personal, yet I'm still going to be there. Like, and sometimes we'll have like just random people, like not even artists, and I'm like, oh, view this story, and I'm like, oh my God, like, and it is such a profile picture. It's like that is one that you're seeing when you're scrolling.
Yeah, it's
and
the
I'm
little
like
baby pink.
Yeah,
So cute.
It's like, I have no
it.
shame. Like everyone's always seeing me in the viewers, and like I'm coming clean and saying like it's me on that account.
Yeah, if I want to stalk someone, just use that account.
Yeah, I
Instead,
tried
like,
to have
just
two accounts, or like a Finsta, you know, like, and I was like, because I like other people had them, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna do that and post all the stuff that I'd never have time to post on my main, and I literally did it for like 3 days, and I was like, I can't manage both. It's too much.
Yeah, you're like CEO of the not using my personal Instagram.
That's good.
I'm not getting into it fully because I can't, but I did have a bagel account and I'm
a bagel account.
Yeah, and I never posted on it. So, but I planned to have like a bagel review account, and I made some very high key messages on there. Thinking that it wouldn't get back to it being me, and then it did.
No.
And the person had listened to the show. So
That's insane.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is being said.
I don't want to talk anymore about it. Just know
legally can't go into
we'll
it.
tell you after. But like,
I've signed an NDA, like we can't. But yeah, so that's
made me feel like flustered like straight away.
That's the end of me in like a Finsta sort of situation.
Okay.
Like, I can't do it anymore.
More importantly, what's your favourite bagel?
Well, I'm vegan, so it limits choice a lot.
Yeah.
But an everything bagel with vegan cream cheese and fresh red onion.
Yes.
Have you been to Capo's?
No, where's that?
That's good. That's really close to you. You
Is
could be
it?
like a long walk from it.
It's like Stoke Newington-ish.
Okay, yeah.
Dalston?
Dalston, yeah, one of them. It's just in this like almost not an alleyway, but kind of.
Yeah, it is.
It's so good. They
Okay,
have some fresh.
a bagel.
Oh my God,
It's
love
amazing. It's
that.
making me hungry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my Dorset just came out. I like the cinnamon and raisin ones. I know, like, if I was to buy them from like in a pack,
Yeah.
they're the go-to. But like out sesame, I love anything with
Someone
sesame.
once said to us, I don't know if it was in the interview or like off the camera, someone once said to us that, oh, I just make my own bagels. And I don't know why we've like started this interview, but like, I'm actually going to air every like cringy thing that's ever happened to us and anyone we know. Someone was like, oh, I just make my own bagels. And we were like so impressed. We were like, you make your own bagels? Like, that's so impressive. Like wow. And then he was like, oh no, like, I just buy the bagels, like I make my own bagels. And we were like, that's such a weird
That's
thing
not
to
the same
say.
thing.
Like
No.
we thought like, you know, getting the dough.
Yeah,
and
like Nara Smithing it. Like, yeah. No, I make a meal. Like,
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, just buy, because we were like, wow, that's really impressive, like, wow. And he was like, I just like buy them, I just like come, like.
Everyone does that. That is the standard
It's like,
way.
like, you're just building a bagel, like you're
Yeah.
not making a bagel.
It's like making a sandwich. You didn't make the bread, did you? Like, it's just the
we
same
just
thing.
talk like that is like core memory, like we think about it.
That's so
that and like in that same instance of Liz texting on her private, I can't remember you said it or if you said it to me, but she just was like, I'm just a bagel. So like whenever like something happens, it's always just like, I'm just a bagel. Like,
I'm using that.
It was
like,
a mere
what do I
bagel.
I'm just a girl. I'm just a bagel.
I'm just a bagel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel it though.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I used to call bagels when I was little,
of course.
I do that.
Yeah.
I always
Like,
just go
I
bagel.
want a bagel. And be like, no, the dog.
yeah. No, we went through a phase as well of like just making up our own like dog breed names.
That's
Like
so
I can't remember, like there'll be like oh, that's a woofer.
Yeah.
Or like
Woofer, yeah.
like I can
Fluffer,
tell you now like what they
floofer,
are,
yeah.
and I'm like that's just like that is what that is.
Yeah.
Like the like easiest one is like that's a yapper.
Yeah.
Like a little like
oh, yeah, the little like ratty ones.
Yeah, that was like it got deep. It was like we actually have our own language now of like specific dog
I like that
breeds.
though. That's a niche thing.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of people making up.
No, we saw 5 Shih Tzus in a little pack the other day. I didn't say it at the time, but I was thinking Yap Nation.
Yeah.
Like that's what
We
I was
are
thinking.
Yap Nation.
Yeah.
Like that is
And that's what's happening right here.
yeah, like completely off the cards. Like just like
Yeah.
reeling off like here's everything that's ever happened to us.
I love nothing more than a good yap.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like
It's all
we've
good
just
with me.
forced everyone to just come yap in this
But
series.
you
while
can't
I
do
read.
that unless you make people comfortable. So
Yeah.
you're doing well.
Thank
you're doing
you.
something right.
Well, we will actually
Okay.
talk about you and
I've
less
done talk
about.
about bagels for
less
45
about-
minutes.
We could do that. Maybe a new spin-off show. But yeah, we were thinking about. And what I started to say actually is about like how long we've known each other.
Yes.
But weirdly, we only actually saw you live at the end of last year when you were supporting Alfie, which felt really weird. And actually now I'm saying I'm second guessing myself, but I do believe it because when you were at Barn, you were on the Thursday.
Yes, I was on Thursday, and
And
you
we
guys
went on the
messaged.
Thursday.
Yeah.
They're like, when are you playing? And I was like,
On the
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And unfortunately, like, don't hate us, like, if you're trying to get us at a festival, like, we will never quite be there on the, like, day before. Like, I don't know what it is
yeah,
with
it's
us.
a commitment though to
Yeah.
like do the full, like a 4-day
we find them
festival.
tiring. We're like homebodies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'm like bed by 9 p.m.
yeah.
Festival is a commitment.
Yeah. But yeah, so we saw you supporting Alfie. Templeman, I don't know why I've just first named him. But you've also supported so many other artists, like in the time that we've known you. Like there's obviously been Neve Ella, there's been Rachel Chinnery. I'm gonna have
You
to
almost
first
did it
name
again, it was
everyone
just
and
Neve,
say that.
yeah.
And obviously as well Stevie Nicks, which is just like crazy. And like, could you tell us a bit about like your experience supporting people? Like, how has that been?
It's the coolest thing because like all of the artists I support have amazing fan bases. So like the Academic, the Snuts, like they've all got these like really, really cool fan bases. So I just get to go up in front of them and steal, hopefully steal a load of new fans. And like, it's also quite surreal, especially like someone like Rachel. Like I messaged her on Instagram when my first song ever came out. I was like, please listen to it, like I love you. And she like replied, put it on her story. And then I was like, if you ever need a support, 2 years later I messaged her like, if you want to support, like remember me. And then managed to pull it off. But like you're meeting people that you're genuinely fans of is, and kind of at like a peer level is something I never thought I'd be able to like do, which is really, really cool. And seeing them in their element as well, like watching their set every night, I just it's the coolest. And it's like slightly less pressure doing a support tour because you only have to like do the half hour and then you get the rest of the evening to watch.
Yeah.
True.
That's kind of how we feel about interviewing people, isn't it? It's just kind of like, we're also a sucker for like persistence and just being like, this will happen at some point.
Yeah.
Like Liz invited Sabrina Carpenter onto the show.
Perfect.
Like,
No, but
and it will happen.
It will. Like I used to go
Yeah.
to bed every night, like picturing myself walking out onto like a stage.
Yeah.
And like I would think about the set. That was like what would send me off to sleep. Like, you know, you have
Yeah.
like that thing you think about every night, like a little story. But I think about that and then it's like, weirdly it happened. You
Yeah.
know, like if you don't put it out there, then it can't come back to you.
And then it's the confidence you go into it as well, isn't it? It's then like because you've worked for that and because you sent the DM like 2 years ago and now it's actually happening. I do feel like when you go into it, it's like that does help with that kind of peer relationship of like, like we are equals because we are here together.
Yeah.
But I love the novelty of it though also. Like I
Yeah.
bet that's like
Oh, it's
top tier.
insane. Like I'm literally like if my manager calls me, he's like, oh, like we've got it. Like I'm literally like, are we allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What the fuck?
say it with your chest, that's right.
Yeah. It's such a cool experience and like getting to tell people and then, you know, imagining it all happening before it does. It's just it's so much fun.
Weirdly, actually, I think Sophie told us on Tuning In that she was supporting Alfie.
Yeah,
and
she
that was
did,
like our first
mid-episode.
episode. And she told us on the video, and I think that's my favourite. Like, it felt like we had been told it.
Yeah.
Because I think it was coming out that evening, so it wasn't even like, oh, this is me announcing it. But I think like we were so like, oh my god, look, that's so amazing, and I love that clip because it's like, I can only imagine how it feels for you guys. Because I think I even was like, Sophie, I'm gonna cry. Like, I love that. I was like literally like.
That's so nice.
But it's so
supportive.
nice.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. So like when you got added to it as well, I was like, yes. Like, literally, we have this phrase of like Mootopia, and it's like when everyone's like I could mutuals.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's Mootopia. Like that night was Mootopia.
Oh yeah. Well, they call it, what's the like Coachella version that people say, like Mootchella or something? Umchella, that's the other one that I see.
This whole time you always thought that was such a weird thing to say, but you're right.
Is that like where you get like a big lineup or like everyone's in the same place?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure out what that meant. I was like, what is Like,
Yeah.
I'm probably saying I've never said it out loud before.
It feels
And
very
now
just,
I'm reading it, I'm like, is it that?
What's the thing that I'm trying to learn at the minute? TLDR.
Yeah.
Too long didn't read.
Brutal. I mean, imagine you just got that reply to like a paragraph.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know where that
People
comes
use
like
it in like
that.
press things as well though. They'll be like TLDR, like here's the quick like one sentence. It's crazy.
I wish I could make that naturally flow in like how I type, but
It's like TT. What's the like Tata now from like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh? That's the only one I know.
TTFN.
TTFN. Tata for now.
Yeah.
I only know that from Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, we're a sucker for like TTYLXOX.
yeah.
Bloody hell. That's a mouthful. What is
But
that?
that's from TTYLXOX. That was from
Shake It Up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Shake It Up, classic.
Yeah. And we're like a sticker for that. And then TTFN comes
Yeah.
that with the territory, doesn't it?
I feel like it's a slippery slope if you start getting into like TGIF. I'm like, no, I've lost. It's not cool.
I used to have a friend who, at work, and I worked on a reception desk, and I would always know when she was in the night before because I would go in and it would be like TGIW. Thank God it's Wednesday on like a post-it note, and I'd be like, that is so cute that you're like leaving notes, but like that's so funny because like it's Wednesday. Like, man,
Thank God
like,
it's just a Wednesday. It doesn't have the same ring to it.
And you can always tell, like you'd go and there'd be a post-it note on the computer and you're like, she's been here. But I know who closed last night.
Maybe let's circle it back to
Yeah,
the discussion.
go.
I'm not sure what just happened there, but we'll bring
We're
it back.
so tangenty today.
I'm sorry, I'm the worst one as well. You're not the worst
sorry.
person.
No, like I think we've met each other's matches here.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so us. Back to support acts. There's been a lot of discourse online, and I'm interested to see like what you've actually seen about it as well.
Oh, God.
There's been a
Hopefully
lot of
something.
there's been some like real like back and forth about like the position of support acts, whether they're needed, useful, and everything. But it's clear to see that it is so beneficial for artists like you. Why do you think support acts are of importance?
I think obviously there's like the first level of it warming up a crowd, like the obvious one of like it serves a purpose, but also getting the opportunity as a small artist to get in front of a crowd, you know, to get a fee, even if it's very, very small, and get yourself out there in the real world, because I think so much of the industry is online. Actually gigging is so crucial for your music, for your playing, for your confidence, like to be able to meet fans in person. I mean, I think it would be a bit, I'm not saying they have to have, every gig has to have the support, but I mean, the headline probably wouldn't be where they are if they hadn't been supporting someone at some point. And I feel like a lot of people that go to gigs, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people love finding new music and getting to see someone at the start and like follow their journey. I think so many of the artists that I like, I've seen as supports, and I would never have probably come across them otherwise. And then sometimes I like them more than the headline. You know, like it just happens. I think it's so important.
I think I bring it up in every conversation about support acts. So the infamous one is, if support acts didn't exist, I wouldn't have been like third row for SZA, because I saw SZA supporting Bryson Tiller in like 2016 or something. It's like, I'm never going to get that close to her again. That's why I know who she is.
Yeah, 100%. Like it just opens your world to like a new bit. And also it's really nice, I think, when the headline chooses people that they listen to their music and they're really excited about it, so like automatically you're already invested. Like yeah, I think it's crucial most of the time.
What's really sad about seeing people like, I guess it's like a clear example is obviously the and the nearest is like the Billie Eilish support acts were announced, and everyone was like, I don't know who this person is, and I'm like,
I saw
that's
that.
Like,
I'm like, that's the point.
Yeah, and it's like that is like, and I like what you said about like, oh, like you're joking, but like, I'm gonna swoop up all the fans, but it's like that is like the person hasn't been put there just to annoy you. Like there has been like, I don't think a lot of the time, and I think it's nice when we have conversations like this, is I think a lot of fans don't realise the amount of conversations that happen behind the scenes, and it's like no one's just like scrolled on Instagram, just stopped there. There has been thought either by the artist, by a team member. There is a reason why that person is where
and
they
also,
are.
like, Billie Eilish might love these artists as well. I get, obviously, tickets are very expensive nowadays, and there's, I guess sometimes you're hoping that you get 2 for 1, and that can be a bit frustrating, but you just don't know, you have to go in. And also, when you play a gig and the headlines fans are, like, make you all set just as if they're your fans, you know, like, they make it so fun. I feel like it does so much for the artist that they, like, want to give back as well, you know, like, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, that's my opinion.
I think people were saying in the online discourse that this is the problem with like big tours like Taylor's, where it was obviously Paramore was the support, and then you also got like Ray as well. Do you know? And it's quite different. And I think people were like, oh well, I got to see like Ray, Paramore, and Taylor Swift all in one night, so like I'm winning. And it's like, well, that is like a stadium tour. It is huge.
It's Taylor Swift.
And this is not like, I think it's really difficult. I don't know, we're getting very deep very quickly. but I think a lot of the fan culture and the very like intense online culture around like the music industry makes things like that make it seem like that's the thing. Like that is how it's always going to be. And it's like, no, like that's not how it is. That's like wow, that's amazing. Just because that bar's been pushed there doesn't mean that everyone can or will
unrealistic. Like it's completely unrealistic to be able to.
And it's also like not everyone can have like Paramore and Taylor's an interesting one, I think, because Paramore are so big, but it's like not everyone can have someone who's like basically the same level as them as support, because like that isn't beneficial then.
No.
But the whole point is that it's a bigger artist and a slightly smaller artist. It wouldn't work.
And it's like, people are saying Sabrina opened for Taylor. Sabrina wasn't the Sabrina that we know now at the very beginning of that. She was a lot smaller of an artist. She just, obviously a lot of people say that was the platform that made her big. That's not for me to say, but like, she was given an opportunity as a smaller artist to open
smaller than Taylor.
Yeah, like
yes, she's still massive, but she's still smaller than Taylor, so it doesn't make sense. Like in the.
And I don't know if you saw the like petitions. This is about.
Oh my gosh, who was it?
Dora Jar
for Gracie Abrams. Oh my gosh, no! I was like,
so disappointed.
She handled it so classily, with so much class. I think she was great. Like maybe. That wasn't actually how she felt. Maybe she was a bit like, this sucks. But I feel like she really is just who she is. I saw her support Holly Humberstone.
Oh, amazing. I love that comeback.
Yeah, it was really nice. And I had no idea who she was. And then, she's so cool. But I think, I don't want to like get into like bashing fan culture.
No.
But there's some things where I'm like, what are you doing? You know, that's one, not going to change it. No. And two, it just makes you look like a bit of a mean person.
Like, you can just show up later on if you don't want to see the support.
I know it's that whole like getting people want to get to the front and all that, but like you might have the best. And didn't everyone love her? Like everyone fell in love with her. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, I think things just get very intense very quickly, don't they? And it's like also, I guess with things like the petition, it's probably like you probably didn't realise it to quite catch fire.
And also some people are very, very young.
And
I think they see people do stuff like that for other things. So it's like, oh yeah, this is normal. And
and you forget that there's actually a person there. And I think it's nice, not to like praise us mid-interview, but I think it's nice to have a conversation with people who do support acts and support slots and be like, this is actually how it feels for me to be there. And this is how much it does mean. Because I think sometimes people see a person on a stage and forget that is a person, especially if you've just turned up, you're waiting for Gracie Abrams, you've queued for ages, you've kind of forgotten that this is a person who's wanted to do this.
This might be the thing they've been waiting for. That's like the biggest thing that they've done.
And it is easy to forget that.
I think. There's also, I get a bit of a thrill from the excitement of trying to do this, but there is like I have to win this crowd over. And it can be really daunting, like, especially if you're going to a crowd that's like, I've done gigs where it's like maybe like an older male demographic, which I'm not used to playing to. And I was like, okay, like, I need to try and win you guys over, which is not something I'm used to doing. So there is a bit of like, you know, the person up there is nervous. You know, like, this is not their fan base. Like, I'm always, when I see a face I recognise, like a fan, I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. You know, and it's like, I almost just play the gig to them. But yeah, I think we can, I feel like I probably do it as well if I go to gigs, like, you know, you'll have a chat with your mate quickly about something, and like, because you think you're far back and it doesn't make a difference. Because I always, if I go to gigs now, I tend to just like, stand at the back because I just get claustrophobic and all that. But yeah, I think we can forget that they are a real person. Yeah.
Love that. And I guess you have already touched on kind of how doing a support slot can like help grow your confidence, but I'm kind of interested in like live shows in general, and whether you kind of feel like you learn things from live shows, and if so, what? Obviously we don't do live shows, so like we don't know how that feels, but do you feel like you learn things that you wouldn't necessarily know in the studio, or like, I mean, in general about yourself?
Absolutely. I think like on a practical level, like, I feel like I answered a question like that recently. I'm like, right, let's start with the practical level. Like knowing where, because when you record a song, rarely you'll do like one take. You kind of might do it section by section, just, you know, because otherwise you'll just be out of breath, unless you're like the artist that does it like that. So knowing how to actually sing your song live in one go, where to breathe, that's the best thing about playing a song live. It's like, oh, okay, that's where I'm meant to breathe to be able to sing this. I think knowing what your stage presence is, how you come across, what you want to put across, singing, playing guitar, using, if you have like a pedal board or anything like that, all at the same time. That there's so much to learn gigging, which is why getting a support tour is like a gift, because you get maybe 5 nights, maybe 12 nights to just fine tune and figure out what you want to do and feel really confident, so then you can like be like, okay, now I've got a gig a month after that, but I can still do it, you know. But if you don't have the experience, like I think back to my first gigs, oh my gosh, like I've come a long way. But yeah, because you're nervous as hell, you've never done it really, you know, and you're watching other people who are just smashing. I'm like, how are they doing that? You know, and it's going to other gigs is so good as an artist, because you just, I was literally speaking to someone about it yesterday. I was like, you can steal, be like, oh, that's a really good idea, I'm going to try and put that in mine. And watching someone be relaxed and confident on stage, and like, even if you're not feeling it, I feel like I've got to a point now where I can make it seem like I'm having the time of my life and I'm not stressed about anything, you know. And it's like, in my ears, I'm like, oh God, this has gone wrong and this has gone wrong, and I played that chord wrong, but you just, you know, you kind of just, you learn to navigate through it and not let it. But I think at the start, if something went wrong, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, you know. But it's just practice. Yeah, you learn a lot, but it's good fun.
It's interesting that you're saying that seeing other people, you're like, oh, I can take that, that. We have that with...
You must have it, like every artist, creative person. Like,
who are you gonna say?
Steffi and Wing.
Oh yeah, I was also thinking Sophia and Cinzia.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I used to watch them all the time.
Like now that people are doing like podcast shows, and we saw Steffi and Wing at, was it Reading Festival? They have like an Orc stage now, and it's for things like this.
That's so cool.
It's like one day, hopefully, we'll be doing that. So we're like, we'll take that. Yeah, we'll take that.
And I think that was the closest that we've had to that moment of like watching someone do something. And I'm not trying to say that like we're the first people to ever do that, but when we started, there wasn't really like podcasts were starting to take off when we started, and it's come like a long way since, and I'm by no means saying like we've done that, but I think seeing like Steffi and Wing do like a live podcast, and it was the first one that we'd kind of seen like that, it was like, whoa, like that's something I could do. Yeah, it was the closest that we got to kind of seeing something in the flesh that I'm like, we could do that. Because for a while it kind of felt like the possibilities were endless and we could go down any route, and we have all these like big ideas, and it's how to actually like have it be a thing. So when we saw that, I was actually then thinking that this must be how everyone feels like all the time, getting to see other artists do shows. And I think we were kind of talking about it a little bit, I don't know what order everything's coming out this morning, and I'm really interested by, we were talking earlier about like how speaking to like other female creatives, you walk away and you have this feeling of like wow, I feel like the possibilities are endless. And I don't know, and we just mentioned Sims, and I was thinking about like feeling inspired, like that feels, and I just think it's really nice that, and I think it's why things in person are so powerful, is that I'm really, I don't know, I think you forget, because the online world is so big, especially in like creative industries, you forget how important it is to have like human connection. And every time we ever speak to any creative, like especially women, like we leave feeling like so much more like we can actually do anything.
Don't you feel like you've been like charged up or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had like a really nice few days where I've been around people who are creative. And it's like, I literally like said it out loud to my boyfriend. I was like, it's been so nice just being around other people and talk about everything that's happening, because it's such an isolating, unless you're in like a band, like, and you're like 4 people equally invested in something or like that. It's, you don't spend a lot of time on your own per se, but you also do, because it's like, if you're a solo artist, or if you were, you know, an author or whatever it was, like you do a lot of thinking in your head on your own. So it's really, really nice to be around other people and be like, oh, I'm not the only one who feels like that about this, or that's happening, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, it takes the veil off everything. I always say, any interview I do or anything like this, I always say like, talking to other artists makes you realize that everyone's going through the same things, and what it looks like is not necessarily what it is. Me and Stevie Bill had a massive FaceTime once before we both went on tour, and we were just like, oh my gosh, like, why haven't we done this sooner? Why haven't we talked about everything? Because you feel exactly how I feel, and it doesn't necessarily like fix anything, but it makes you feel so much better that it's like, no, this is very normal. But well, it gives you ideas and everything. Like,
well, without name dropping too much, but we
went
went for a coffee with the photographer that we were talking about earlier, and we just came away from our chat with her feeling so inspired that we went to like Floozy Cookie after, got some cookies, and just like planned basically a new series.
It was so weird, and it is that like what you were saying, like you leave and it's like you've always got it like switched on again, because it was like it just kind of happened. And I think I think a lot of musicians are very similar in the sense of like we have ideas and then we just like have to do them. This is an idea, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna write it, I'm gonna take it to its full potential. If it doesn't see the light of day, it doesn't see the light of day. And we had that moment, and I think, you know, I think it's so important to progress and situate yourself within a community, and it's something that maybe we're so fascinated by it because we didn't have it really until we started this series, I'd say, is that we kind of like felt like we were kind of floating a bit between the music industry. Like we would do interviews, and like now and then people would be like, oh my god, like what you're doing is so cool, and we'd be like, oh, thanks. And I think because we've now got this community, like we see it with the people we speak to, like we see it between like you guys, like every time we mention like, oh yeah, this guest, everyone's like, oh, I loved her. Like I think, so and I think it's so like, I'm so, I don't know, interested in how community and inspiration work.
Definitely. I think there's also, if I'm ever feeling like flat, and I haven't always done this intentionally, but then I end up going to a gig to watch someone else, I suddenly am like, I feel like, oh, I want to be doing that. I can be doing that, you know, and like, it gives you just like even if you just listen to some new music or anything like that, but also hanging. I'm like an extroverted introvert, and I kind of let seeing friends fall to the wayside quite a lot. You know, I'm not great with like keeping up with stuff like that, which makes such a huge difference in my life, and I need to do it. My New Year's resolution was like, actually see my friends, because it's like I have like a really random schedule, and I like planning anything in advance makes me feel like, oh god, like I don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, like there was a load of like musicians and stuff at the pub, you know, and I was like, it was so nice to not hang out in a creative setting, to actually just hang out, and then you talk about it in a different way, which is really, really nice. And I think I feel like sometimes like you put pressure on to only meet up to create, you know, and then it's like your friendship kind of has such a whole other world to it, you know, that you need to prioritize. But I think community, I was talking about this with my cousin, like we've just community has completely disappeared in our society, I think.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I won't get political. But it's so integral, like this idea that you don't owe anyone anything and everyone's an individual, and you know, you're on your self-care path and like, you know, don't take shit for it. Like, I don't know, I think we feel guilty to lean on community, and it's actually one of the gifts that we have. You know, like, I work for a charity part-time, and I'm literally it's a confidence building charity for kids, and like one of the sessions we do is about community and how, like, if you show that you're struggling or you need help, it invites other people to then be like, oh, I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
You know? And I think in music, like I was saying before, if you don't talk to anyone, then you think my life is a mess and everyone else's is perfect. Yeah. And that really hinders creating anything. Yeah. Like,
and it's also like because of social media, isn't it? Like you only see like the best sides, and it's when you have those moments that you're like, this thing happened, and then everyone's like, oh, that thing happened to me as well, and you're like, oh, that's crazy, because like you're just we're posting our best bits, you're posting your best bits, but because no one's talking, everyone's just kind of like speaking out into the void. It's a one-way thing, and then you just internalize everything.
Definitely. Like, I used to say, and I think it was when I was still in the academic, I'd kind of start a song by saying, like, comparison is the thief of joy, because I know it sounds a bit like, you know, put it up on your wall.
Oh,
but
I love it.
But I think it's so true.
Nevertheless, she persisted.
One of the but it's such a hard lesson to learn. Like, you have, like, I've learned it the hard way, and I still do it. But I think, being in a community where you establish friendships so you're not competing, you know, I think is really, really important. Especially, like, female friendships are just like so fundamental. Wasn't there, like, I listened to this interview recently. Amy Poehler has just started a podcast, and I think she's fucking hilarious. And she did one, and it's so bad I can't remember the name of the actress that she did it with, but she's really famous, like, American actress, does a lot of comedy. And she was talking about, like, female friendships are so important for your old age, like people that you're going to grow old with, that aren't siblings, that aren't family, you know, your partner. And I think I was like, oh yeah, I really need to make sure that, I mean, I definitely will have them, but like actually nurture them, you know. Yeah.
I get so emotional thinking about like female friendships. I'm like, oh my gosh, we took a photo on New Year's with us and like our other like best friend, and we all looked at it, and like you guys were friends from like childhood, pretty much, like teenage years, and then we met like 18, 19, and we looked at a picture of the three of us on New Year's, and we were like, oh my god, we look so old, but it was like, so oh my god, like we look so, like we're like aging together, and that's so like amazing that like those people who met when they were younger are now friends now, and I just love the idea of just like growing up, and like even again like with like artists, like I love when like we met in like 2022 and you were doing this, and now look at you, and I just like I just love it. Like I just love like
it's a really nice way to like acknowledge the passing of time, like through a friendship, you know, and like it not feel like, oh my god, like all this. It's like, wow, like so much has happened.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I was going to bring up the same friend because we were all in a cafe together yesterday, and like was it yesterday or whatever, but like the conversations we were having were just, they just felt so grown up, and we were talking about like life when we're not in our 30s, but like when we are in our 30s and like beyond, and where we will end up in our lives, and like coming together in a few years' time to do different things. And it was like, that is such like a far cry from the things that we would have spoken about like 10 years ago, and it was just like, how much have you revised for your GCSEs? Like, are we going out on Monday then, or what? Like, we still have moments like that, obviously, but just growing and like experiencing adulthood together is just really nice.
And it's just like less scary, isn't it?
Oh
it's just like, I think like just living life is so much better when you have female friends, and I agree. I at New Year's I was like, I'm gonna see my friends more, because it's like I'm very similar in the sense of I'm really bad at making plans.
Yes,
like, I'm really, like
shocking.
and I'm really bad at texting, and I just at New Year's I was like, I need to see my friends, and I did a really good job. I'm slowly falling off again. But
Yeah,
I think like
it was same thing today. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to get to that person in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm like, oh god. But I think doing that, I had a very similar epiphany where I was just like, these are so like sacred to me. And it wasn't ever that I didn't appreciate my friendships, because I've always been like a friendship first thing. But I was like, this is just so incredible that I have so many people in my life that want to spend time with me and want to
That's such a nice way to
move through life. And I want to spend time with them, and I need to make time to do that. And yeah, I think you do forget when you're so busy like working on your own stuff that like just sitting down and having a coffee with people, like
it makes such a difference. Like it just, I like we were saying, I just come away feeling like I have a whole new perspective on the world.
I never knew, and if you leave, sorry, like kind of getting into the agony and stuff, but I think that if you leave like a setting and you're like, that wasn't fun, you've not got the right people. And I think I had this realization that I was like, I've spent my whole adult life trying to have like really good friendships with people that really like further my life. I don't have anyone in my life who doesn't make me feel happy, because I've worked for that. So like, why am I not doing the thing that makes me happy? Like
sometimes it's hard, like life moves very quickly, everything's happening. It's like sometimes you don't realise that's what you're missing until you see them and you're like, oh shit, that's something that really helps me, you know, like not in a selfish way, it's like just me, it's like for both of the people there, like it makes a huge difference.
I suppose talking about like joyous moments moves us on to the next question. So thinking about all of the different situations that musicians are placed in, so doing press, playing live shows, making songs in the studio, what is a moment in your career so far that's felt like pure joy to you?
Oh my god. My go-to is to always just like answer as fast as possible, because like I'm gonna think about this.
You can take your time with
like,
that.
What is the most joyous? I feel like it's got to be don't hold me to this. This is what, like, the thing I thought of is playing my headline show in London. Like, a lot of my family were there, and like I think that's another thing with like my friends, is I have such a great family and it's quite big, and like a lot of cousins that are my age that I kind of like, I see them and then I'm like, I need to see my friends as well, you know. But like having my family there was like, yeah, just really, really special. And like so many, I watched videos back of that night like all the time. I'm like, did that really happen? Like, yeah, it was just, I always get emotional on stage, I can't help it, I'm just a huge crier. But taking it in, and yeah, I feel like watching it post it happening, I'm processing it more than actually in the moment, because you're just like, it's still a performance, and it's still like I need to, you know. But yeah, whenever they all had like a fan project, and like, and actually to be fair, when they did that in Brighton, that was the first time that ever happened to me at the end of the academic tour. It was the last night, and I was like, I don't know, it's just such a weird thing where you're like, why are these people doing this to me? You know, like, what have I done to deserve this? Like, you guys are so open and loving and dedicated, and yeah, I'm just so grateful. And I think something like that, I was just having the time of my life, you know. I was like, wow, all of this hard work has come to this. But there's loads of stuff. I think I was really stressed about like a load of stuff, and I was in a session which is normally like a therapy. Like when you go to a session, it's like, it is therapy. And they said like, oh, like just out of interest, like why do you do it? Like why do you what is it about this that makes you keep doing it? And I was like, honestly, like the 30 minutes I'm on stage just is my favorite. I'm a middle child, so I've always been a performer. I love the thrill of it, I love the adrenaline. I don't really know, like I realise I don't really remember being on stage very often. I don't know if that's like I'm so in the moment that I can't kind of process it afterwards. But like I like blackout. Like I don't black out. Like I'm present, but also not. You know, like
we always say we black out in interviews.
Yeah, it's like it's so intense that it's like an amazing or whatever it is that you just. I used to do a lot of like acting, and like I can never remember being on stage. Like, I'm like I did it, but I enjoyed it at the time. I know I did, but. So yeah, there's just something about performing that is just I've always been so drawn to, So yeah, London was pretty epic. Can't believe I just said epic. It's like 2012.
We're giving the cringe energy today.
I don't care.
Anything goes.
You could have said Jepic, but you didn't.
Jepic, oh my god.
So at least there's that.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
But I think something that you do really well in, I guess, like also your songwriting, and I guess this does kind of tie into maybe also the idea of like blacking out on stage, because it's something that we really have experienced, especially like we were talking earlier about like our festival interviews, and I have it with like interactions in general, to be honest, but especially those interviews, like I don't remember really doing them, and I would watch them back and be like, this is all actually the first time I'm experiencing this. And I think it is the intensity of the moment, and almost like you kind of go into fight or flight. And I think as, I guess, creatives isn't the word, because it is kind of like, I guess, performing in any sense. You're in front of people, you're filming, you're on stage, and I think I think it's natural, but I also think you do a really good job of also kind of showing that emotion in your songwriting as well. And I think we were quite interested about how you spoke about Don't Do Well Alone, and about kind of anxiety and imposter syndrome, and I think that pairs quite nicely with what you're saying about being on stage, and it's something that comes up a lot in these discussions, and a lot of our other tuning in guests have spoken about it, and like we feel it at all times, and I think it's something that everyone really works on. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in how your experience about writing about things like that kind of, I don't know, do you feel like it is healing, or do you feel like it's not necessarily healing, but because you're dealing with it front on, you can kind of manage it more?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. There's like the therapy of, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are probably the same, of that I'm able to intellectualize what I'm feeling rather than actually feel it. I feel everything very, very deeply, and because of that I tend to try and avoid feeling anything, because I just know it's like all consuming. So there is a sort of writing it down and actually like thinking like, oh, how can I articulate this, is really therapeutic. But also there is that level of like opening it all up, like it's like keeping the wound open a little bit. I think the helpful side is talking to other people and be like, yes, okay, it's not just me, and that's helped you, and that's amazing. But the other side, like I've got a new song that I'm kind of posting a bit about like a really heavy topic, and I think that's kind of done something different. Whereas Don't Dwell Alone felt like, oh, I probably haven't told as many people as I should how much I'm struggling. Here it is in a song, so I don't, now you know, and you can like hear my whole story without me having to say it, you know, like directly to you. And then the other side is this other song is kind of, it's brought everything kind of back up to the surface, and I'm like, okay, I need to maybe take care of myself a little bit more in how I'm approaching this, because it is you're writing about real things, you know. So yeah, I think it can be great, and it also needs to be dealt with care as well, depending on what you're talking about. Like, it's something that gave me PTSD, so it's like talking about that definitely. I don't know why I'm being so ambiguous. It's like all over my TikTok.
Well, we will be asking you about it, so don't feel like you need to.
Yeah, please feel free. Like, I am an open book. I don't know. I'm not being like funny about it. But yeah, so it's really nice to talk to other people and like it open up. And I'm like, I literally got a message. I get messages a lot about people saying like, oh, this song has, you know, helped me with this, or like you articulated this feeling, which is kind of always what I've wanted to do. I've always wanted to talk about stuff that is hard to talk about, not because I'm great at talking about it, but because I think it's important, and it just makes me feel lighter. Like, otherwise I feel like I'm just carrying all this shit around, you know, and it's like a way to get it out and make something fun out of it as well. Like, a lot of the time I get to, you know, Don't Dwell Alone is a great song to play. Like, it's like, yes, it's sad, but it's really upbeat in a way, you know, so that's kind of a way of making it not really depressing.
And you can tell that your music connects with your listeners as well, purely based on the agony aunt section that we'll go on to. The amount of people that love you is insane.
Yeah.
You've got so many people asking for your personal advice, so you can tell like.
I was like, if you want my mediocre advice, please fill in this form.
You got the most that anyone has ever got.
So I feel emotional. I feel like PMS or like.
No, I literally am emotional all the time. But I think
that's so nice.
It's really, you're really speaking our truths. I feel like everything we keep talking about keeps going back to like how amazing it feels to talk.
Yes.
And I think that's why your listeners, why we resonate with you so much, is that I think there's such power in speaking candidly about things, and I feel it even with like the champagne whisper side of Blonde Vibrations. It's like I always say to people, like, they're like, oh, are you a good agony aunt? And I'm like, I don't know, like I must be because I do it. But I'm like, but it's more that like I think since we talk about really random things and advice and things like that, I become more a level-headed person, and I become more in tune with how I feel and how I should act. And it seems like for you, it's talking about it that does that, but also songwriting that does that as well, is that you can put it in words. And I don't know, I think there's such power in just like talking. And I know we're saying that while we're talking on a podcast.
No, but like I literally I said the other day, like when I was younger, we'd be at like the dinner table, and if no one was talking, I'd be like, so what should we talk about? You know, like I have to be like there's an element of like a need to talk, but also knowing that it definitely just makes me feel lighter. And I also get like my friends like, oh, you give such good advice. And I'm like, why don't I take any of it to myself? You know, like I don't know why. I enjoy hearing someone's situation and trying to like analyze it a little bit and be like, okay, like I'm quite an empathetic person. I say quite, like to a fault probably. I just feel things that have nothing to do with me. And I'm like, oh God. You know?
I'm the exact same.
I'm like, okay, I need to not like absolutely get involved in this. But yeah, I think I love being able to put myself in someone. I think that's why I always liked acting. You know, it's like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Which I think is kind of daunting with music because it was just me. But I was like, oh no, I'm not pretending to be someone else. You know? Which is terrifying sometimes. But also it felt really nice to be like, oh no, like I'm actually sharing what I think. Yeah. If anyone wants to hear that.
Wow, should we move on to the agony?
Oh my gosh,
stuff?
I really hope I give good advice. I'm so worried. I big myself up.
So we've got two. They're not too deep, so
good, okay.
It will be okay. So I keep feeling like I have to change everything about myself to be liked. And after a long time of abandoning bits of myself to survive, I feel like I'm losing myself as a person. How do I start feeling like myself again?
Oh my God. I just, my heart breaks. I can resonate with that, definitely. I definitely understand trying to make yourself palatable to who you're around, and feeling like that's the safe way to make people like you. It's like if you're less of yourself, feeling like you're too much. I'd say it probably takes, I don't know how old you are, but like the older you get, I think the more you want to get back to yourself. You know, like I saw a thing like everything you enjoyed as a child, you spend your whole life trying to get back to. So I think, one, the people that you surround yourself with who love you for who you are, like that, you shouldn't be around people that hopefully, or maybe I'm not saying that like it's in your head, but sometimes it's like, oh, people are a lot more accepting sometimes. But yeah, I think being around people that love you for who you are, and if they don't, then it's okay to not be friends with them or not surround yourself with those kinds of people. And also if you're not yourself, and you're obviously not enjoying not being yourself, because I don't think anyone does, you've got to be brave and be like, okay, these are the things I like, and put yourself out there, because if you don't put yourself out there as yourself, you're not going to attract anyone into your life that loves you for who you are. You know, like no one wants to go around feeling false. What was the last bit of it again?
How do I start feeling like myself again?
I think doing things that make you feel joy is definitely, I know that sounds really basic and simple, but yeah, I guess just putting yourself in spaces that feel accepting. I don't know, like the whole survival thing, I'm like, maybe it's not safe to do that in the situation you're in. But if you can find time to join a group or a club, or, you know, even if you find one person that you can be yourself around. Also, as a musician, I'm like, listening to music that describes your feelings, I think is just, I feel like this is a really wishy-washy answer.
No, but it's true. I think as well, like it's very individual, isn't it? I think you need to like...
It's scary.
Yeah, and there's multiple avenues that you can take. Like, I don't think you're being wishy-washy. It's kind of like, well, you can try this or that. Yeah, and I think it's the stages, isn't it? Like,
and that's the thing, I guess, go slowly with it. Try one thing, you know, like even if it's like something that you wear, you know, like you wear that day, and like if it makes you feel great, then keep doing that. Or putting yourself in a new space. But I think ultimately it comes down to just being brave enough to show up as your authentic self. It's terrifying, it's horrible, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, what if nobody wants me, you know, as I am? And you will find people that do, you know.
I saw something, I love a quote, and I can't remember what it is exactly, but it was like, it was something like,
no, never was.
Like, you can't be late to your own life, so it's never going to be too late to, to start something and start working towards the version of yourself that you're always meant to be.
That's the, and 100%, there's no deadline, you know. Oh my gosh, yes.
I think the moment you realise as well that you feel like you're not being yourself, it's like, well, that's the first step, isn't it? I remember when I was, I talk about it all the time, like when I was 18, I very clearly just like was on one. Like I look back at between like, you know, like a few months, and I was like, I don't even know like who, I guess I moved as well, but I was like, I literally don't know who that is. Like that wasn't me. But I think from the moment you realise that, I'm not acting like myself, it's like, well, actually you can then start taking the step.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like also being gentle with yourself, that you are going to evolve and change, and like a version of you now is not, you might not like in a few years, but like you said, acknowledging that and being like, okay, this isn't making me feel good, you know, I'm not being myself by choice or not. You know, you have the choice to change that, you know. But I think, like we were saying about talking, it's like having people to support you doing that. And there are people out there that will, you know. My fans are great. So, you know, there's a group chat that we can make, 100%.
I think like what you said about like, once you feel peace with yourself, other people will kind of, I completely paraphrase what you said, but like other people will find peace in that as well. Like I think the moment I started being more myself, I think I made more friends because I wasn't like feeling too shy to be me. And I'm now like at the point where like I was like talking to people at some like work drinks, and I was like, like just talking about a situation, and I was like, like I just don't want to like be weird, like I just always bring up really random things, it's just really weird. And they were like, why would you not do that though? They were like, that is you. And it was in that moment I was like, I've been at my job for like years, it was in that moment I was like, that's just really funny, because I was really shy when I got here, and the fact that you're going to sit there and be like, yeah, but like the weird things that you say are like, that's part of you. And I was like, like I feel very secure in myself. But you know, in moments like that, you kind of like look and you're like, like the Clara, like, you know me. like I think that it will just happen, and then one day you'll turn around and be like, whoa, like, you guys actually think that's really funny. I actually think that's a bit weird, but like, I'm glad that I can be weird and not think about it.
Yeah, we're like so self-critical that we assume that these parts of ourselves people aren't gonna like. When a lot of the time it's like it's like some people don't like their teeth, but other people are like, that's the thing I love about you. You know, it's like all these little quirks that make us who we are. But it's true. Yeah, you know, I think allowing yourself to be yourself is one of the most like courageous things you can do. Thank you for submitting it. That's, you know.
It was good.
Exactly.
You're a natural. Okay. I'm in a job that I've worked really hard for, and I love every bit of it, but I'm not earning enough or what I should be earning for the job I do. Do I leave for a better paying job but risk being somewhere I hate, or stick with where I am?
Okay, right. I'm going to put my mum hat on. I'm going to listen to my mother in my head. Have you spoken to the place that you work that you're not happy in terms of being reimbursed for what you're doing? I think as women, we kind of just go, oh, like I can't have that conversation, I'll just go somewhere else. Whereas like your male counterpart will be having that conversation and they will be asking for what they want, and we know that to be true. So I think realizing what you want, what you think is fair, have a look around at the other jobs that exist in the area, like what are people getting paid for what you do in your job description. If it's more, you can go to your boss and say, look, in other places I would be getting paid this for the same job. I won't go into like I'm like giving a really like specific answer of what to say. I think
like
the
Chat
main
GPT like pre-made letter. Like.
Yeah. But I mean, it's if you love everything about a job and the only thing that's if the only thing making you want to leave is the fact that you're not getting paid enough. If you've already had this conversation, this is irrelevant. If you've already asked and they said no. But if that's the only thing, then definitely have a conversation, because the worst they're going to do is say no, and then you know what you have to do. You know, I think if you've already had that conversation, and there's everything that you love about the job, but there's no change on the money, then see it as an exciting new chapter. Like, I think you wouldn't be probably thinking this if it wasn't a breaking point.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing else you can do, I think you've got to take the leap. And I know it's scary, like the job market's terrifying, but you will need to be valued for what you're doing. But I think try and have the conversation first. Write down what you want, go in higher, you know, so they can meet you a bit lower. But just be honest about it. I think I can't say I've ever been in that position to say, but you know, people do it all the time. Like I've had friends who have been like, oh, I've got an appraisal and you know, I feel like I deserve a raise and you know, all this stuff. And it's like, I feel like 9 times out of 10, there's some sort of agreement, even if it's not what you wanted, if you're willing to settle somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. And like, it's not to say that if they won't give you more money, you have to then jump at the next job you see. You can still take the time to apply and find something that you don't think you're going to hate. You might hate anything, but and you just know where you stand with your current place a bit more.
And you can be honest and you can say like, is there something more that you would want from me for me to be able to, you know, get a bit more? You know, you never know. You've got to open that conversation up. You know, it's like, is there anything else I can be doing? But also, you want it to be fair that they're not squeezing you dry for an extra couple grand. But I think the biggest thing is checking what other people are being paid in the area for like similar jobs, and then just going in with that evidence and be like, well, I can go and get more over there if you value what I do.
And most of the time they will want to cooperate because it's easier to keep you than to hire someone new.
That's the thing, is how expensive it is to train someone new. Like they're probably going to put your job up at more than they have you anyway, because it's like such a competitive job market that they need to do that to attract anyone decent. So you're saving them money by staying. But yeah, I think if not, the world is your oyster and someone is going to value what you do.
Be strong and trust the process.
Exactly.
That's my saying.
Your 2 pence.
Or be really sneaky and say you got another offer. True. And going guns blazing.
I can imagine.
Like, I've actually been offered this, so if you want to keep me, this is what I'm going to need. People do it all the time.
We've got a friend, and I won't like give more details than that because it is obviously about money. She's always been like, as long as I've known her, she's always getting pay rises just because she's asked for them. Do you remember this?
If you don't ask, you don't get. This is like this. I said this about Rachel, and I know it's like obviously not the same, but slightly lateral. Like, if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have got it. You know, like she wouldn't have known who I was. So it's so important to just ask for anything. Like, I say it to everyone. I'm
and
like,
you don't realise that other people are doing it.
I mean, I don't necessarily do it as much as I should, but everyone's doing it.
I had, again, it's not the same thing, but we were at a thing the other day and someone was like, why don't you just like email people asking to sponsor you? And I was like, we used to do things like that, but we don't really anymore. And she was like, why? Like, that's what we do and it pays off. And I was like, oh,
like, fair
like
enough.
you forget that people are doing things just because you're not doing it because it's not in the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
And I think it does apply to the same thing with like asking for a pay rise. Like when our friend said, well, it's like, oh yeah, I've just like asked for a pay rise and I got it. It's like you forget people are doing that, and again, men are doing that. And like you just it's like almost object permanence for other people doing other things. You know, but no one's talking about it, so you don't realise.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's all like, I feel like what people earn and all that is such a big secret, which makes it really hard to know that you're getting what you should be getting.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, obviously a generalisation, but I think men are better at valuing what they do, and I commend them for it. You know, like some of them value themselves too highly, but there is, you know, I think that's something that we're grateful for the job.
Yeah.
Whereas like it should be the other way around. You know, it's like, no, I have a really, you know, skilled position that I do, you know, and they're lucky to have me.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I think, a narrative in your head that you need to change before going in and having any conversation. You know, like you're the thing that they want and need, so approach it like that, not say, oh, I'm really sorry if, you know, and please, you know, yes, no worries at all. Yeah, you need to go in with valuing yourself first, and then they'll value you. Yeah. To simplify it horrifically.
Oh, lovely. So we actually spoke a little bit earlier about the new music that you've been teasing and sharing moments from the studio. Could you tell us a bit about your writing process? Do you write best in chaos and messiness, or calm and peace, or is it somewhere like a sweet spot in between the two?
Do you mean like environment or like emotional, like?
I suppose both.
Yeah, I think the idea of writing around chaos in an environment does not. Yeah, I feel like I'd be so distracted. And I like writing on my lyrics. I like writing on my own. Like I was in a session the other day and we were like getting this song together and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go sit in the other room and write the lyrics because I just have to focus in. But I think there's an element of, you have to experience the chaos to then have the hindsight in the calm to write about it. You know, I feel like I find it very difficult to write about things as they're happening. I'm like, you can't give it any sort of like poeticness because you're just like, I feel like shit, you know, so, and that's kind of, it just becomes very black and white. So yeah, I think experience chaos but write in calm.
Yeah.
But then again, like, you know, I'll write on like the train or the bus or whatever, and it's like there's lots of stuff going on, which can be inspiring.
Is there anything that you're trying to like, I guess, let go in that process? Then, if you're kind of thinking that, oh, like I can, like, I don't know, like this is the kind of setting that I like to write in. Is there any like habits that you're like, I don't want to do that actually? Like I don't do well there.
In terms of writing?
I guess, yeah. Or is there anything that like that will happen in this project that hasn't happened or the other way around? Do you know what I mean? Like, how is it shifting?
I think I was, like, respect to me, when I was starting out, I was ballsy with what I wrote, kind of like about people that I knew. And I really regret it. I think there's a way to be tactful, and you forget that it's going to be out forever. And I kind of, just because it was like my first few songs, I didn't really, there wasn't like, no, I was like, no one's going to hear this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh no, they will.
We have that with episodes.
Yeah, you know, and there's just a bit of like, a bit more maturity to it, of being like, just writing in a way that's like, I know what it's about, and that's all that matters, and you can interpret it however you want. I mean, the new music is a lot more, on the whole, not on the whole, that's a big fat lie. There's a lot more like happiness and love, and which is really nice to have. I think in terms of the writing process, I'm leaving behind being trying to be someone that I'm not. I saw some like music friends the other day, and they're like, oh, like it feels like you're really just being yourself. And I was like, I'm glad that that's coming through, because I think starting out in music, you kind of can try and emulate what other people do, because you're like, well, that I enjoy listening to it, so why wouldn't I want to make it?
Yeah.
But I think I'm just trying to, again, just be a bit more authentic in myself and what I'm making, and having the confidence in the session to be like, no, I don't like that, and I don't want that. Because sometimes you go into a session and people have listened to your music and they have an idea of what kind of artist you are and what music you want to make. So it's kind of, it was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Like I'm kind of moving away from that. So yeah, that's been really, really nice. I'm just so excited about the new music. Honestly, if I could just play it to you all now, I would. I listen to it all the time, which is really, and I know I feel like it's always like evolving, and I know in probably 2 years' time I might not like, but that's kind of the point. Like you have to, it's a process. Yeah. But I just really, really love the stuff that, stuff I'm making. I can't wait for people to hear it. I just love it.
Now that you're making the new music, do you find yourself going back and not necessarily just like actually listening to the old stuff, but like reflecting on it?
Oh yeah. Do
you see a lot of things that you like listen to it and you think, oh, it now hits in a different way, like, or it grows with you as a person?
A little bit. I think there's some situations, like, it's like Killers, I realise kind of applies to a situation that's not about me. I'm like, oh gosh, like that's crazy that I didn't even clock how relevant that was to that at the time. That's so like ambiguous, but it's like, it's not about me, so I'm not gonna say, but like it was really interesting to like see it in a different light. And I think also like I can hear that I'm like, I'm almost there. Do you know what I mean? With it, like I can still feel I'm holding back in how it sounds. So I feel like I've been a bit more, like I said, I've been a bit more brave and kind of not making it what I think it should be and what I want it to be. Or not even having an expectation of what it should be, just like, this feels right, let's go with this. Rather than like, it has to have a TikTokable bridge and it needs to have 2 choruses and, and all this sort of stuff. Like I kind of just, I don't know. It, like that person said, like it just was like destroying me a little bit, that I was like trying so hard to be something that I'm just not. Yeah, I think it's just being yourself. That was it, like having the confidence in this industry particularly, and any industry probably for women, to be your authentic self and not try and be someone that you're not, because it backfires. I have to tell you, I'm so sorry this is going overboard, but it was just the funniest thing. If anyone was at this gig, you'll remember. But I did a gig and I was like, right, I'm going to be really cool and really funny and, really sharp on stage. And I introduced Killers, where I was like, oh, this song, it's about someone that was just a bit of a dick, and everyone was like, oh yeah. My band were like, that was like your best chat. Like, I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this. And then the next night, because obviously I was like, right, that's what everyone wants from me. This is clearly what I should be doing, even though it's like, I normally say like, oh, someone that wasn't very nice. Like, I'm not the kind of person who's going on stage and be like, this person was, Yeah. The next night, I went to introduce Killers, and I went, this song is about a dick. And I literally went, oh my God, no. Like, I was like, it's someone that was a dick. But I was just so mortified. And it was like an older sort of male crowd as well. And I was just like, and Connor was actually on stage playing guitar for me that night. And he was literally like, I was like, ah. And like I kept laughing. But
it's crazy.
I feel like that's proof of, but that's like proof of like, that it's like, I was trying so hard to be like, okay, this is what you want from me and this is what I need to do. And it's just like, it backfires. So don't do it.
What is it? You're preaching to the choir, because we are like such strong believers in, and again, we were kind of saying this earlier, weren't we? It's like, we're such strong believers in like, if you enjoy what you're doing and you're being authentic to yourself, then other people will like it.
Exactly. And that's what that person who's, And
I think, I don't know, we have a very similar experience in like people kind of being like, you should do this, you should do that, and this is what's going to make you successful if you do this. I agree, it is always a man who's saying it, and it's like, well, actually, what do you know? What do you have over me that you can tell me that? But I think
But you got to that position where they're trying to give you advice. You wouldn't have got into that room if you weren't doing what you guys were doing.
I just don't agree with it. I just think, I think that we're cool in like a sense of what we do is cool. I don't think we're cool and mysterious. I don't think we're like
could not be
slick.
mysterious.
I don't think we're like really smooth interviewers. We're like goofy. We're gonna like say some like slightly weird stuff. And I think that's what people want to see. And I hate this idea that you have to be cool and you have to be. And I think it is rooted in misogyny of like you just have to be the cool girl and you just have to do this. And I hate it. It's
just like I'm just going to be on like something on stage for you to like look at and not listen to.
Yeah.
Really. You know, it's like, and I know it's a big sweeping generalization and that's not what this person was saying, but it's the rhetoric and it's the slippery slope down.
And it's the structure that's made that be that way. And I think,
and sometimes it's helpful advice and sometimes it isn't. So it's like I don't want to be like, but also it has an impact on you. Like I think about it all the time, you know, and I'm like, oh God, like I'm not interesting, you know, because I'm an open book. But everyone that I've said it to has been like shocked and been like, what? Like so you're like the way you are on stage is what is so nice, like to watch. You know,
it's relatable as well.
Yeah, like, you know, like I'm not some sort of like pedestaled artist that like is untouchable and like you don't really know. You know, like I literally like talk about everything all the time, you know.
And I think it's so like special to lean into those parts of you, and I think it's something we strive to do, is that like we'll, you know, every, like you said, like even about like the Instagram, like everything's pink, everything's girly, and it's like because
that's
I don't
who you
want
are.
and I don't want someone to turn around to us and be like, you should make your entire Instagram black and white and have everything in Times New Roman. That's so boring. Like I don't want to do that. That's not me.
And that's
like,
maybe that's someone else's personality. But that's not your guys's. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see a world in which you do feel like, which you are in now, but like you can be truly yourself. And I think that is what people like seeing. And I think anyone who tries to change that, even if it was about themselves, has some like soul searching to do. Like,
oh my God, I saw the funniest TikTok that was like, you know, people like say like, oh, tell me about this, and the whole comments are full of like examples or something. It was like, what's the like, I think what they meant to say, it was like how to put someone down nicely, basically, kill them with kindness, but people kind of took it as like how to fucking kill people with condescension. But some of them were phenomenal. I wish I could remember. It was like if someone says something weird to you, like, oh, has that worked for you before? Like, has nobody told you that's a weird thing to say or something like that? And it's like really little like subtle.
I'd love for you to have responded with that.
Do you know what I mean? Like if they'd said it to my face, I definitely wouldn't have had the balls to have been like, like, oh, interesting that you thought it was okay to say that out loud. Like my mum told me that when she was like, say like, oh, it's interesting that you thought that would be alright to say out loud. You know, like that's one for your head. You know, I've never said it.
That's one for your head. I love that. I look back on situations and I'm like, oh, I wish I knew that. Like,
oh my God, like the shower arguments. Don't. I'm such all the time.
And I guess this is kind of good timing, I guess, because we're thinking about this new era for you, and I guess we've also kind of spoken about like manifesting and visualizing things, and
I've come off as my horoscope witchy girly, which I'm glad.
I love it. What star sign are you?
I'm an Aries.
Interesting, that makes sense.
No.
I literally was going to ask you this after we recorded, and then you just said horoscope, and I was like, I actually need to ask right now.
In Let Down, in that new song I've been posting, it's just like reading horoscopes for guidance, and I have come up with like a little like promo thing to do with star signs and the song. So I'm like not cool or edgy, but that's me.
When we were like, we're gonna ask you to manifest, we were like, we're hoping you're that kind of vibe, and Elise was like, she says horoscope, and I was like, yes, I think this is a clear cut. But it's something that we really like doing, and I think we have to do it with like nuance. We can't ask everyone ever to manifest on the show, because then it feels like we're asking everyone to reveal their secrets. But we have had people kind of say what their plan, like not their plans as in like tell us everything, but you know, seeing what like success would look for you in the next couple of years and what you kind of would like to see happen, because things have happened based on this question.
Okay, my number one that I always want is I really want to play Glastonbury, and I will keep saying it. And it will keep saying it in public, and it will happen eventually. In the next couple of years, as I said, I'd love to have an album. I'd love to have an album. I think I don't know if this will happen, but after my next project, I think I would want to work towards an album. Even this next one is probably going to be like on the long side, so that feels like a natural progression, which will be very cool. And an album that has lots of my friends playing on, I think. Like, my brother is a drummer, and my sister can do a little bit of harmonies and stuff, and like just things like that feel like a really like inclusive project. I would love that.
And not a like compilation in that sense, but like a compilation of like the people in your life.
Yeah,
I love that.
Because I don't really write, like my EPs don't really like, there's not like one story I'm telling in different songs. It's kind of like everyone is different, so it's kind of like, how can I blend them together? Or maybe my next project will be one sort of theme. But then what else? I'd love to play another arena. I'm like just putting stuff out there. I think some major festivals would be like that's something I haven't really done. So I'm very excited to hopefully do that. And then an album, I think, in the next couple of years.
That makes me so excited.
Sounds crazy. I haven't said that out loud really at all. But I want to make, I feel like I'm probably already got songs for it.
We're at our final question.
Okay.
Who do you want to nominate for us to tune into next?
Okay. Can I choose two?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know Della?
Yes.
XOZ. I think she's fucking... It's like Midwest emo. Like, she plays like the coolest things on guitar. And her lyrics are just phenomenal. Like, they're so clever. So I would... that would be really cool. And then I don't know if you guys have already done this, but Ella, have you?
No, but our session this morning, she also said Ella as well.
No
so
way.
We definitely need to make this happen.
Yeah. No, I think like I think I found her like a couple years ago because like I was looking for other artists that kind of sounded like Holly Humberstone or Sam Fender, and like I was in that world like a lot, listening to a lot of stuff like that. And I came across her. No, actually, that's a lie. Jess Izzat at BBC Introducing played her on the same show as me, and she did The Woman. Like, I'm the woman. Oh my God, and I was like, who the fuck is this? Like, this is so cool. And then I played a gig in Manchester, and I was in the room upstairs, and she was downstairs, and I was like, oh my God, so I went down, and I was like, hi, like, I'm a big fan. And now we're like, I feel like we're peers and friends, but I definitely started out as like a major fan, and still am. Her music, I feel like it's just so, I don't know how it hasn't like, I mean it is like, but it's not like, I feel like it has so far to go in terms of like, there's so many people that would love it. I'm like, please find it, you know, like it's so good.
I love seeing people like on the brink of like,
yes, you know when it feels, I'm like, okay, it's ready to go. Like,
I bet it's so frustrating as the person, but I love seeing it. Like, and it's not the like, we've spoken a bit previously about like the toxicity of being like, I was the first person to find this person, so I'm not saying that in the slightest, but I mean,
no, I did. I think it was like 2 years.
You know when everyone's like, oh, like you need to trust everything I ever say, like I knew, but I like seeing that moment where it's like,
that's
what you're doing is such a high standard that like people are going to see this and it's just going to like.
People always comment on my videos like, oh, you're gonna blow up. I'm like, maybe this year, maybe not.
Well, that's what we're manifesting. I definitely have that for you as well. That's not.
But, I mean, Della's like smashing TikTok. So, but both of those artists, I feel like my fan base would love. They probably already know them, but there we go.
Yeah, great suggestions.
Okay.
Thanks.
This has been so nice.
Oh, I'm so glad that we finally got to do this. Like, it feels like
we'll have to make like monthly.
Yeah, every time
I'll just come in and.
Anytime anyone comes on the show, I'm like, I literally want you to come on to like every episode. Like, please. Like, I get so like attached.
You guys are so easy to talk to, honestly.
You said earlier that at the end you felt like you wanted to clap, and I just started doing that as well, like just clapping.
Thanks so much for coming in.
No, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been a pleasure, and thanks to the fans that wrote in as well. Love you.
So many.
Great.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.